So much love and appreciation to those of you who have been with me for the 2 year period plus that I've been doing this. Thank you for showing your love and support to the channel. And to anybody else who is brand new to the platform and you would like to support the channel, also, you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop that is listed in the comment description below. And again, thank you to any and all of you guys who have been here to support this channel during the 2+ year period. I wouldn't be able to do what I do every single day without you. A teenager has been charged with several felonies for attacking a teacher in her classroom. Allegedly, the 16-year-old student went to El Dorado High School classroom on April 7th of 2022. The student ostensibly came to the classroom to discuss his grades when the situation rapidly escalated. Police state that the situation escalated when the 16-year-old student went after the teacher. According to a police report, the student strangled the teacher until she was rendered unconscious. In a statement released by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, they stated, quote, "At some point, the suspect got violent and began hitting the victim and strangling her until she lost consciousness. After the teacher lost consciousness, the teacher reportedly fled the building, leaving the teacher for another member of the school staff to find. Once the unconscious teacher was found, the staff member immediately called 911. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police located and arrested the 16-year-old without incident. Now the 16-year-old student is facing a myriad of charges, and it remains to be seen if prosecutors will try him as an adult. The charges that he's facing includes attempted murder, SA, battery with the intent to commit, SA, first-degree kidnapping, and robbery. The Clark County prosecutors state that the final decisions on what charges the student will face will be made in court. The superintendent of Clark County School District, Jesus Jara, stated, "Of the student's attacks, violent acts, assaults, and bullying will not be tolerated in the Clark County School District, and those who choose to engage in these activities will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Principal Christina Brackett also stated in an email to parents that the school is doing everything possible to support our students, staff, and community. She has reached out to the rest of the staff to say that counseling will be available even during spring break, and that the school will be doing everything in its power to help law enforcement and to help the victim of the attack. The student, who will not be identified as he is a minor, is being held on a $500,000 bond and is due back in court on Tuesday. To whoever that teacher is, I am so sorry for what you had to go through. You go through school just to get an education so that you can, in a sense, be with the community, help the community, and be there for the betterment of the community, to help parents raise their kids, to help parents teach their kids because they're not able to homeschool. You're not just a teacher, but you're also a guardian, right? At the end of the day, a secondary guardian. And for a teacher and a guardian and a human being to have to go through this type of thing in an environment that is supposed to be deemed a learning space and a safe space for not just the teachers, not just women, but for everybody involved, for something like this to happen is ridiculous and it's egregious. I'm not sure where this type of behavior was directly taught or where it was introduced or where it came from. But if there were any signs and symptoms that the parents knew that their child was a violent individual, if there are any other people that this child may have tried this on as well, the people that know of these incidences need to be charged as well. They need to be made and held responsible as well. Put them on a $500,000 bond and make sure that they're going to get the same sentence, if not more. Because you have a lot of parents out here and a lot of other people that know of individuals that are very extremely violent and that they have a propensity to do things of this nature, but yet they enable and endorse these types of things while body blocking and defending the exact same individual. This teacher at no point in time did anything wrong, but did everything right. And because they did what they were supposed to do as a teacher, they end up suffering negative consequences, such as dealing with this in a school environment, which should never have happened. And don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing that things like this don't happen elsewhere, right? Like I've stated before, those things are wrong as well. But I'm talking specifically about this story in this environment and how this is supposed to transpire. This is how I put it. If you have this happening to teachers, what does that then state to the young girls that are there at those schools? What does that then state to the other female teachers that are there at those schools? That now puts them in a whole different mind frame, because before they were just coming to work, la 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 la, just coming to work and just doing what they do. Now their whole mind frame has changed. Now they gotta be more defensive. Now they have to be, they have to pay more attention, which realistically you should already be doing, no matter what environment that you're in. But as human beings, when we deem or find something to be safe, we're going to let our guard down. So because this is, as I've stated, supposed to be a learning environment, a safe environment, not just for the children but for everybody, those women and those young girls are letting their defenses down because this is what they've been told. But the actions are basically shown to be something different. Even if this just happened once is one too many. And that's the main thing that I'm saying. This should have never have taken place at all. I really wish that this teacher didn't have to deal with, and at the most, I wish it was probably just a shouting match. Maybe a student threw, a book across like the room, but nothing of this caliber that now this teacher is going to more than likely suffer PTSD. She's not only going to have problems going back teaching, but she's also going to have problems going through life, because her attacker, it wasn't like it was a grown man that did it, it was a student. So now she's looking at all of these young students, all of these young men walking around that's out and about. She's looking at them differently because she don't know what could potentially happen. She feels as though now she can get attacked at any moment. Anything can happen. Now, instead of it being one, it could potentially be a group. Now it's a whole bunch of scenarios that she never even thought of or even had to worry about. Now those are a reality. And that's all because of one person. And this is when I try to tell people that, you know, all of the actions that you decide to take in life, they just don't end up affecting just that one person, but they end up inevitably affecting everybody else, even if it's not as direct as that one person. But that one person that's affected is going to come into contact with other people, and their mentality is going to end up changing. So because of the energy that has changed within that person's energy, that wavelength of light and energy that's coming from that person, it is now switched to a whole different tone, to a whole different sound. And that sound is piercing through all of the bodies that that person basically comes in contact with and is near and around. And that energy is now changing on a subtle level everybody else. But like I said before, that's a little bit too much for adults to comprehend. A lot of adults aren't ready for those type of conversations because they're not even, ready to realize their effects and how it is that they affect other people, because they're not even adults enough to, really take responsibility for themselves. So within that being said, you now have children that are raised by the exact same adults, and they go out and they perform and do actions such as this at a very young age. And the reason why I stated earlier that the guardians, whoever else that knows of this child and knows of a history, signs, or symptoms, why they need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent, if not more, is because more than likely this is learned behavior. This 16-year-old learned this. This was introduced, just like a lot of other things are introduced to children, but people don't want to talk about those things. So we're just going to stay on this topic. This was more than likely introduced. Nobody, no man is no young man is automatically coming to this earth born and they feel like, yeah, this is something I want to do. This is something that I want to commit to for the rest of my life. This is what I want to lose my life over. This is what I want to lose my freedom over. This is what I want to, tell people I went to jail and prison for. No, no young man basically comes to this planet stating that this is what they're up for. This is something that is normally introduced. Somehow, some way, they were able to see this, and it was condoned, it was enabled, it was stated that it was okay. Therefore, writing that programming onto that child, enabling that program, that software to go through, and now you have the child, aka the player, acting as they do out here in the world in this sim. This is why I advocate so much for women to learn self-defense and to get license to carry because of things like this. Minus the license to carry, this was just dealing with a 16-year-old. Self-defense, jujitsu. She could have just potentially just broke his arm. Like if she knew that that was going to happen, she could have anything that he did. She could have really overpowered him and reversed all of that real easy. She could have done that, but she didn't have the trainings or the teachings, the knowledge, and the know-how in order to properly defend herself from that attacker. So hopefully women out there will use this story as an example and they'll take their daughters, their girlfriends, their best friends, whatever it is. You'll take somebody, out there with you and y'all will learn, self-defense together, and in return, you'll teach that to the women in or around your circle or potentially the women in your community.